Okay, we had some pretty serious stuff with Gen AI and other cool things, but it's time to make a little kind of a break. So yesterday we had like a musical break. Today it's very different. It's how using IntelliJ tool as a game engine, unexpected. Oh, welcome, Alexander.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's pretty clearly my cue to get started. Hello, thank you for coming to this a little bit of an offbeat presentation, 100% AI free, I promise. So my name is Alexander Chatzizacharias. A little bit of tricky last name, I know. Are there any Greeks here by any chance? Oh, so there are 2 people that can pronounce my last name, me included, so that's kind of cool. I have a couple of hobbies. I boulder occasionally. I have a way too expensive Magic the Gathering collection. Even the first thing I did when I came here in Stockholm, I went to, I think it's called the Dragon's Lair, here pretty close, bought myself some Magic the Gathering cards, pulled some really good cards, so Stockholm is my favorite city right now. And I play a lot of video games, like a lot of video games, and you'll probably see that a little bit coming back here during the presentation. I was wondering, any other people that like to play video games in their spare time? Okay, so you're definitely at the right talk. Out of curiosity, who plays more than 10 hours a week games? More than 20 hours? How about more than 30 hours? That is where I tap out nowadays. More than 40 hours? Sometimes. So I think more than 45 hours? Okay, so good for you that you can still do that. I wish I could. I work at a company called J-Driven in the Netherlands. We're just a super small consultancy focused on Java, or better said, the JVM. And that is pretty much all I have to say about myself. A couple of years ago, or 1.5 years ago, in my spare time, I like to make video games, so I dabble in Unity 3D. Who has heard of Unity 3D here? Okay, a lot of people, so it's a game engine for the ones that haven't, and I like to dabble. C#, I know, Shivers. And I play around with it, make some games. It's pretty fun. But roughly 1.5 years ago, they decided to completely unshitify their product, ask people money for every install of your game, etc., etc. And then I was like, okay, I probably should do something else, use something else. What do I want to use? Do I go to Unreal? Do I go to Godot? Do I make my own game engine? Because how hard can it be, right? And then at that time, I was, I believe, at Devox UK. And in Devox, I saw this talk by Trisha G and Holly Cummins. And they said that productivity is messing around and having fun. And I couldn't agree more with this. I believe if you're having fun and you are free to mess around, fool around, find out, that's when you are your most productive. That is when you really make that code that in 5 years you look back to and you're going to be like, whoa, what did I write there? So that got me thinking, if productivity is messing around and having fun, that does mean that if, as a developer, I'm using an IDE for 8 hours a day, probably, unless I'm in meetings, right? That means that I need to be able to have fun and mess around in my IDE. And well, as a Java developer or developer on the JVM, if you're working on the JVM, you probably use a certain IDE, which is IntelliJ. Who here uses IntelliJ? Okay, it's, almost everyone. Who uses Eclipse still? Okay, a couple of people. NetBeans? No one. Vim? Okay, hardcore. Notepad++? Oh, sometimes. So yeah, IntelliJ is the biggest. Is anybody from JetBrains by any chance sitting here? Okay, so all brakes are loose. Nobody from JetBrains here. Good. Do you people know the feedback sandwich? So the feedback sandwich is if you give feedback to somebody, you start with something positive, you continue with, well, the negative part, the feedback part, and then you end up with something positive, right? So on a completely unrelated note, JetBrains is an amazing company. They're doing some great work with IntelliJ and everything. But yeah, so I will be using IntelliJ to see if we can actually make it in game engine and have fun in it. Whenever you start a project like this, you need to put in some guidelines for yourself. Don't over promise. No scope creep. Of course, I started with not wanting to use GCEF. GCEF is the Java Chromium Embedded Framework. It is supported by IntelliJ. A lot of modern plugins are using it. So basically what it does is it allows you to open up an embedded instance of a Chromium browser and run JavaScript, HTML, et cetera, in it. Which would mean if you wanted to show make games, it would make it really trivial because you can use JavaScript and whatever. So nothing of that. I am a developer in the end of the day, and I really like to make things hard for myself. So I also really like playing video games. That means performance is a must. 30 frames per second was an absolutely no-go. 60, sure, but preferably around the 120 FPS mark. Because I also kind of want to show the big AAA gaming companies that if I can reach 120 frames per second in IntelliJ, then so can you on an Xbox with your game, right? I won't be using any game libraries, so no lightweight Java game library, which is probably the most popular one. It is also, I think, what Knox used initially to make Minecraft. Minecraft, of course, one of the biggest Swedish exports, I would say, Knox being Swedish. I also have to say it's amazing to be in Sweden. I'm also kind of a huge metalhead myself. So being in the country where one of your biggest exports, well, after Candy Crush, I guess, is metal music, is really amazing for me. You know, with bands like Sabaton, Hammerfall, Arch Enemy, et cetera, I could go on forever. And of course, the code that we use has to be used as assets. So basically, the whole idea is if we can use IntelliJ as a game engine, that means you have an infinite amount of content on GitHub that you can use for your game, if the code are assets, right? So that's a little bit what we're going to be trying to do. For our stack, here comes the big controversial thing. Kotlin is the best way to code in the JVM. Changed my mind. So we'll be using Kotlin. Any other Kotlin lovers here? Yeah. Any Kotlin haters? I'm sorry. So we'll be using Kotlin, IntelliJ. And who here knew that IntelliJ was built using Java Swing? Okay, so very few people. So IntelliJ is built using Java Swing. I don't know how they did it. I don't know why they keep doing it, but it is completely built on Java Swing. Anybody that worked with Java Swing? A couple people, so I feel for you now. Going from Unity and having to work with Java Swing, well, that was a difference, so to say. It was quite tricky, actually. But in the end, it worked quite okay, I think. And with that, I have a question for you, because whenever you start a project like this, you need to have like an idea or like a proof of concept that what you want to do is actually feasible. So I figured I'd start with the video game that launched the video game industry. Who knows what that is? Yes, Pong. Pong indeed launched the video game industry years ago. All right, so I have a little demo project here. Oh, of course, one thing I forgot to show you is this is GCEF, basically. So you can throw in whatever you want, every website, whatever. You can play Wordle in it, and for example, sword. And then how about metal? Damn. Well, I tried. Oh, pretty close. There's one. These are the only two I try every single time I do this. And there's going to be one day that's going to be right on the first go, and I'm going to be looking like an absolute genius. But well, unfortunately, not today. All right. So Pong. So let's leave it. And here. We have Pong in IntelliJ. So when I made this, I had when I made this game, I didn't realize that code is quite vertical, right? So that means the player on the right might have a little bit of a disadvantage, so to say. Or on the left, sorry. But yeah, there are physics. They are extremely fake it till make it physics, so they're not real in any way. But it works quite well. You have some collision there, a ball that's going left and right, a player on the left that is absolutely being devastated. As you can see, yeah, that works pretty well. Okay, and you have score, so you could say this is a pretty full-fledged game. At least this is a little bit what Pong used to be back in the day. Okay, let's give a point to the other player. So sad. So like this, as you can see, we can render graphics. We can create some pseudo-physics. We can move things around with AWSD and the arrow keys. So, I mean, that's pretty much all you need to make a game, right? So, after I did that, after I saw that this was working, I figured, okay, if this is possible, then probably everything I want to do should be possible. So I continued, and I chose a theme for myself to base my games on, and that theme was the great sins of the cardinal sins of backend development. Because who is here a backend developer? All right, almost everyone. Good. So the question is, what? Just shout it out. What do you consider a huge sin of backend development? Everybody's so quiet. Like, I don't want to say it. Okay, so personally, I think introducing state in your backend systems could be considered a cardinal sin, right? We love our immutable services. Your state should be neatly tucked away in a database, and you just query it and stuff like that. Don't introduce state. So the next game is a game about eliminating state. Anybody has any idea what the next game? It was huge in the arcades back then. Anybody got it? Sorry? Yes. I call it State Invaders. I'm not state as in mutable state of your backend systems. I'm not trying to radicalize you against any state here. All right, so let's see how it looks. Time to abolish the state. So what it's doing now, it's collecting all the mutable variables in the product. And as you can see, we have a beautiful retro menu. And then you type start, and you get a nice opening cutscene. War was beginning. What happened? Somebody set us up the bomb. So now the big question is, does anybody recognize this, what this is referring to? All your base, one of the original memes, right? Good old early 2000s internet, where something like they set up us the bomb and all your base are belong to us was the huge meme sensation. But yeah, so what we are doing underwater is we are collecting all the mutable variables that are in this code base, and we are making them our state invaders. And as you can see there, at the moment, the chance of production crashing is 100%, which sucks. But if you start shooting them, and I've given myself God mode because I'm horrible at my own games, and if you start shooting them, you can see the chance of production crashing is going down. 71%, 69%, 66, 63. And as you can see, if we eventually get rid of all the mutable variables that were in this code base, the chance of your production crashing is 0. Oh, there was one hidden all the way in the top, tucked away. There we go. 0% of your production crashing. And that is how you... and that is how you get rid of bugs in your code. Now you're saying, now you're probably like, okay, this is fun, but actually, I go into the code and remove every single line where that variable was. So it's not only visual, you actually remove the lines. Just to send a message. So does this code compile? Probably not, but who cares? Just don't introduce a mutable state in your backend systems. All right. So let's bring this back, and this is the nice thing of Git. You can just bring it back. All right. Now, we're going to take a little bit of jump, roughly 10 years, to a game that really launched that made a company millions back then. Was probably billions right now, and was one of the first games that was considered a system seller. So people were buying a system, game console, so they could play that game. Anybody got an idea? No. Mario? No? A little bit before Mario? Pac-Man. Or Pac-Man, with a K there, so normally you write with a C. Because one of the cardinal sins of backend development, and I'll admit in front-end land is a bit worse than in backend land, so to say, is over-reliance on packages. Just pulling Docker images, packages, whatever, pulling a package from Maven Central so you can calculate if a number is odd or even, for example, things like that. And that is not good, right? I hope people agree. Of course, I don't expect people to make their own Spring Boot whenever they need a web service, but... So let's play some Pac-Man. Right. So what's happening underwater is we're walking through the whole Git history of the project, and this is done completely through JetBrains APIs, by the way. Everything you see here is built using the JetBrains, the IntelliJ plugin platform. So this is using all APIs that they made available for plugin developers. We walk through the history, the Git history, commit history, and we collect the commits where people added packages. And as you can see, we have a Pac-Man on the top, and you have some ghosts walking around. You could argue these are ghosts, as in Pac-Man, but they're actually the ghosts of your past sins. And each ghost represents a dependency that was added in your project. So you have Jackson, Jason, we have Mockito, a data faker, added data faker for best data. Here we added some logging framework for improved security, Log4j, I don't know. LangChain, the previous talk here was on LangChain because we have to do something with AI, right? And then you have to navigate this maze, and this maze is completely built using the strings of the packages. So if you take a close look, every letter is a string within the packages. And then who knows what sound Pac-Man is making? Waka, 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 right? Well, that's super copyrighted, apparently. So I can't do that, but the next best thing, I think.
Java, 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 Java.
It gets old really fast, doesn't it?
Java, 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 Java.
One day somebody's going to make a remix out of that. Did anybody recognize who that was? I'll put it on one more time.
Java, 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 Java.
Anybody got an idea? So that is our superstar speaker, that's Venkat. He apparently finding a soundbite where he says Java it was really not that hard, actually. And I'm happy I actually found a ghost, because when I made this, I didn't really realize that it could be really tricky to actually get to a ghost in this maze, because the maze it gets harder and harder the more dependencies you have. So we reached the ghost, we ate it, and as you can see, if I remove the maze, here you can see log4j, log4j, 1, 2, the version number, etc., etc. So the whole maze is built up using your dependencies. And of course, if you eat one of the ghosts, we go into the Gradle file and we remove the dependencies line where it's added, because, I mean, get out of here. And this also works with Maven, by the way, and the JetBrains build system, if that is what you like. All right. So next question. Anybody here that considers themselves who here thinks I'm pretty good at typing without looking at my keyboard? Right? Well, as a developer, you're probably pretty good at that. Who here considers himself, I can probably also type pretty fast? Remember this. So a couple years later, there was this game that came out by Sega, huge, a very popular game. Anybody got a clue what I'm referring to? Sorry? Typing on, no. We have Zonic the Testdog. Zonic, sorry, not Sonic. Because one of one cardinal sin, of course, of backend developers is either you don't test anything, or you test everything and even your packages and your dependencies, and you test if the dependencies do their work correctly and stuff like that, right? So there's like this over-reliance or under-reliance on your unit tests, which is, can be a bit tricky. I'll admit correct unit test balance or integration test balance is difficult. So let's go, gotta go fast. All right. So we have Zonic the Testdog. And to start, we gotta type, we love Scrum. 1, 2, 3. All right. And here we have a full-on cutscene between Sonic. This is Sonic, this blue thing, because, well, of course, the actual Sonic is very copyrighted. I don't want to get sued over this. And then we have Dr. Velocitnik. This is the bad guy. That he says, oh, I've stolen all your unit tests. And of course, there's no way we can release to production in time without my unit tests. And he's very happy about that, apparently. So as you can see, we can add sounds, we can add sprites. Actually, this is a sprite sheet, so-called sprite sheet that I load in here. So there's quite some flexibility with things that you can do in IntelliJ, which is pretty well, fun, actually. All right, so now the game is setting up. There we go. So we have here, and who wants to take a guess what the coins represent? Yes, every coin is a unit. Oh, where am I? Oh. So, and we have to grab, oh. I'm bad at my own games, I said this, right? And of course, if you get hit, you lose your coins again. Oh, come on. Oh, there we go, we got it. And then we can go down. So a little bit of a funny realization I had when I was making this is, oh, Sonic the Testdog sounds pretty fun, let's do this. But if you play Sonic games, they are very horizontal, right? So you go from left to right, and the whole game is go as fast as possible. Now, I had this realization that code doesn't tend to be very horizontal. It tends to be very vertical. So I had to change a couple of things. And well, you can grab coins, and we can go further down and fall dead and respawn. Like this, grab this one, and then fall again, and there we go. And then fall again and die. I'm really good at my own game, ain't I? Well, I did build a shortcut. Here we are immediately at the boss stage because, you know, if I had to actually play the game here, it would have taken me forever. Oh, I got hit. And of course, if you get hit, anybody can guess what that means? and you lose your coins? Yes, I delete the unit test. So this is what we call high-stakes development. You better do it right, and you better do it good. Otherwise, you just lose your work. I was thinking about maybe also doing a git commit, git force push or something like that, but I figured I shouldn't push it. And then, of course, boss always has a weak spot, which in this case is at the top. And we killed him. And of course, what we can also do is we can go to this set name. And if you would like to, you can travel through the whole code base using Zonic. So, oh my God. One day I'm going to be good at this game, and people on the internet are going to be speedrunning it. And then you can see, and then Zonic is wherever or not. I guess I immediately died. Okay. All right. So, yeah, as you can see, navigating, using IntelliJ APIs to find the unit tests, hold them in memory, create like an object that references to them, and whenever you feel like, you can delete that unit test. All right, let's bring them back. So I have this thing, every time I give a presentation, whatever it is, if it's about, well, Java or Kotlin or, well, whatever this is, I just need to show an explosion. I'm childish like that, I guess. So I think this is as good a time as any. Because, I mean, who here has ever felt the frustration with the code? Why isn't it working? Oh, I wish I could blow you up. Exactly. Well, now you can. Damn you! Get away! I hate you, array list. And what's really funny, if you look at the if you look at the diff, you just see holes in the code. And I've been sending pull requests like this to my colleagues, like. It's like, fix a bug. It's like, here you have it. They open it. And one of my colleagues, he's really onto grammar. He thinks that everything should have correct grammar. And his response always is, typo. But what's really funny to me is IntelliJ is really trying to compile this. I figure at some point they would be like, yeah, cannot resolve symbol. And I figure at some point they would be like, okay, this is nothing. I just give up. But no. Okay, one last. There we go. All right. Let's bring it back. All right. So we're going to take a bit of a larger jump now into time. Early 2010s, I think there was a game that. At least in my circles, everybody was playing, and everybody had one of those plastic guitars so they could play it at home. Guitar Hero, I already heard it, yes. We're going to rebrand it a bit to Code Hero. So Guitar Hero, for the people that don't know, is you were seeing notes coming in the screen and you had to strum your plastic guitar on the beat of the notes, so it was a rhythm game. What is a cardinal sin of, well, any developer, actually? Especially in this age of AI, copy-pasting code without really looking what you're doing, right? Who hasn't done it? So yeah, I figured I could make something to force people to actually always know what they're pasting in their code base. So I figured, well, Code Hero is something. I based this on a game called Osu. Who has heard of Osu before or played Osu? Oh, quite a couple. Cool. Also played it? Yeah? Oh, great. So in Osu, you're moving your mouse left and right, and you need to click the circles on the correct moment when the outer circle is on the inner circle. And this is a little bit how it looks when the pros play it. But what's really good about Osu is completely open source, and that also means the beat maps, so like the text files that tell you when a circle should appear are also open source, and you can just openly download them. So that is exactly what I did. OK, so I'll show you first a little bit how this looks like. And the whole idea is to actually make code rockstars a real thing. Code hero. So let's say we want to grab this dummy class and copy paste it, but paste action detected. Time to prove if you're a real code rockstar. We paste a low amount of text, so we're getting an easy song. All right. And you have to type every letter one by one on the beat of the music. And when you're done, it's pasted. And then you can finish the song if you want to. So like this, I believe this is quite a good way to force developers to actually know exactly what they're copy-pasting from the internet, right? So of course, this was a low amount of text. So I'm going to ask again, who is a fast typer? Sully, no, who thinks here, who wants to take a jab at Code Hero? Anybody? I'll do it myself then. So if we add a little bit of more text, for example, again, we have to prove that we're a real code star. And I said I was a metalhead, right? So I'm really sorry if you really hate metal music, by the way. If that's possible in Sweden, is that possible in Sweden? I don't know.
Stand up all night and call the fight. Let your mind go out before the light. Here we come, the army of the night. Line up side by side, step down to praise and to die and fight the fight.
All right, that's what I'll tap out. Now, in Guitar Hero, there was one song that was really tricky. Everybody thought, OK, if you can finish this one in expert mode, you have beaten the game. Anybody knows what that song is? Through the Fire of the Flames. So I'm going to ask it again. Do we have any fast typers here that want to come down here and give Through the Fire and the Flames a go? I'll embarrass myself then. And like this, you know, so can you imagine what song you would get if you just tried to copy-paste a whole project from ChatGPT or something like that, right? Good thing about Through the Fire and the Flames, it has a long intro. So you can get a little bit accustomed to what's to come. Anybody that can finish Through the Fire and the Flames on Guitar Hero? Oh boy. Right. And again, I'm going to release it someday, and there's going to be somebody online that grabs this and is like, OK, I got you. So, those are a little bit of all the games I made within IntelliJ. I do think with enough time and determination, you can make everything you want to. Next step is maybe 3D games, see if that's possible. That could be pretty cool as well. But in my journey with this, I did have a couple of feature requests for JetBrains. And this is a little bit the point where we burn bridges. First of all, I didn't write it down, but first of all, the documentation for the plugin API from JetBrains is really, really kind of bad, actually. Deprecated things are written in there. I basically had to go on GitHub, have the IntelliJ community GitHub open 24/7 when I was working on this, and everything trying to find how things worked there instead of referring to their own documentation. So I would like to see that being a bit better. Furthermore, I would love official MP3/WAV support. I'm pretty sure we can all agree that is a must in IntelliJ, right? Right now, I have to do all kinds of class loading and resource loading in Java and play the sounds. It would be cooler if you can just, do it mp3.play and then IntelliJ does the rest for you. I would love if they deprecated PNG support. So they deprecated PNG support in favor for SFGs. I guess it kind of makes a little bit of sense because, well, SFGs are the way you show icons and they scale nicely and et cetera, et cetera. But in video games, you really work with PNGs and the alpha channel, better said, so you need things with an alpha channel. Because, for example, if we look here at my sprite sheets, and we go to the sheets, Zonic, so this is the sprite sheet for Sonic, and as you can see, it's a PNG with all the sprite movement sprites of Sonic. So I had to do quite some tricky things to make this work. So it would be really nice if they just support it out of the box. And then while we're at it, just add GIF support as well. Not only for video games, but I mean, if you're on Slack, I'm pretty sure 50% of the messages you send nowadays are /Giphy and then some kind of GIF afterwards, right? Or like Slackmojis, things like that. I think it is an integral part of our development process, so it has to be officially supported. I would really love to have better GB color APIs. This is kind of funny. So GB color stands for JetBrains color. It is a wrapper on top of the color class for Java Swing with the colors that JetBrains thinks are OK to use within their IDs. So let me search for GB color in the project. Let's go. So as you can see, what happens is they have this beautiful cyan color, or these are all the colors they support out of the box. But if you want to have it a little bit of a brighter version of it, you have to write brighter. And if you want it to be a bit brighter than that, you have to write brighter. So it's the same with if you want to go the other way. If you want it darker, you say darker, and then, OK, a little bit darker, a little bit darker, and a little bit darker, and sure. And it's like this trial and error thing that you need to do until you get the color you want. And I don't know, I feel we have the technology to just do something like gbcolor.cyan and then pass a number. And that is the hue you want of that color. I feel we have the technology, I'm not sure. Maybe AI can help. All right. Furthermore, if you see this and you're like, okay, if this guy can make a game engine in IntelliJ, I can probably make this plugin idea I had in IntelliJ. Do know you don't have a lot of control when a write action happens in IntelliJ. So that means you submit a write action. It's also what happens when you type normally. So IntelliJ will grab the event and submit a write action. And you don't really know when that's going to happen. And it makes sense, right? So it's a queue, and it makes sure that the letters are correctly inserted one after the other, even if multi-threaded, multi-user, I don't know what kind of shenanigans happens. But if I'm making a video game, I really kind of want to know when what I'm showing on screen is actually on screen, because I want to be able to react to that. So I had to do kind of smart things that, OK, you go there, check, is this string there? It is. OK, now I can continue with my video game. So it would be cool to have more action over that. It would also be really fun to have an API to get the latest time between draw frames. So in game development, we call this delta time. So it's the time between frame A and frame B, and that differs. And we use this to make our animations, our games, frame rate independent right? So because if you know how long a frame took, you can multiply by that, and then your game is frame rate independent. Well, I don't know. So my games are not frame rate independent, unfortunately. But that said, I have to say, as you can see here, I have a very constant FPS of 120. And that is on every single game like this. And finally, it would be also very cool to have some kind of API to get the color of the text you are currently hovering on with your mouse. Or, well, with Zonic, in my case, but I'll go with a mouse. Because right now, what you need to do is you need to grab the piece of text, ask the PSI tree, and PSI stands for Program Structure Interface, which basically is a huge tree of every single variable and class and how they're interconnected to each other. And you have to ask the PSI, okay, am I on a keyword, am I on a variable, am I on a class name, what is this? And once you know that, you need to go to the theme you have currently installed and ask the theme, hey, I have a keyword, what color is is supposed to be, and it's going to send you back a hex value, and you need to turn that hex value into RGB values, and then you have the color, which is a little bit convoluted, I think. So yeah, those were all the feature requests I had for JetBrains. I think they make a lot of sense. I think IntelliJ by itself would become a very good product if they added all this. So if you agree, feel free to tweet at them or blue sky at them. I don't know what we say nowadays. Maybe make this happen. I think I also shown that maybe JetBrains should just ditch IDEs and start working on game engines. I don't know. So, I mean, of course, this was very fun. I had a lot of fun making this. It was a journey that every Monday, basically, I came back from the weekend, I came to the office, I was showing my colleagues what I did, and my colleagues were feeding me with ideas. I was like, oh, this would be cool. Oh, have you tried? And then, for example, one colleague said, hey, instead of waka, 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 what if you do Java, Java, Java? And that was a really good idea, I mean, let's be honest. So unfortunately, I cannot take credit for that one. So if I can give anything with you today is, coding is your superpower. Don't forget this. And I really want to argue that you shouldn't use it wisely. Just do whatever feels right. Do whatever feels fun. You're seeing a lot of things in this conference, a lot of people telling you, okay, this is the way you gotta work with AI, or this is the way you gotta work with your ORMs or with Springs, and it's fine to gather that knowledge. But in the end, just do whatever feels right, whatever feels fun, go off the beaten path, experiment around, fool around, find out. And I don't know, that feeling you get when you have like this crazy idea and you start working on it and it comes into fruition and it works, that feeling is really better than, but it's better than, you know, seeing 3,000 lines of code being deleted out of your production code, right? So it is really great. So I really, if I can give you anything with you today, that is the one. And most importantly, have fun. And I think that is also the closing keynote today is also going to be focused on having fun. So that for me, that's really cool to see that also big conference like this are really trying to send that message to people like you that having fun is really important. So can IntelliJ be used as a game engine? I'll leave the yes or no to you. I think yes. Maybe you're thinking, well, no. But you know, but there is one last feasibility check that we need to do to see if anything like this can even remotely be used as a game engine. Does anybody have an idea what that could be? I don't know. When I came with this question, I was like, nobody's going to get it. But until now, everybody has gotten it. So yeah, running Doom. Who here thinks IntelliJ can run Doom? Who here thinks there is no way IntelliJ can run Doom? Nobody. Who here thinks it depends? So At the moment, it is actually depending, because building the project is taking quite a long time. And running the, well, maybe without spoiler alert, Doom-infested IntelliJ version. There we go. And then of course, IntelliJ can run Doom. Glorious 90s Doom version. It was actually surprisingly easy, because there is a Java port of Doom called Mocha Doom, and once you have that jar with Doom in it, it was actually quite easy to run it in IntelliJ. Pretty cool though. All right. So yeah. Thank you for watching. That is everything I wanted to show you, actually. I think my time is also almost done. If you liked the exploding code, I made it into a plugin because some people asked me if they could download it. So you can download Code Exploder from the JetBrains marketplace if you want to blow up your code and send the PRs to your colleagues. Do now, don't force push this to production. These are my socials if you wanna hook up with me. If you, for some reason, you wanna look at the code of the games I made, they are on GitHub. You can find them there. If you want to take a look what I did or how it worked. And I was told, if you want to rate my session, this is the QR code to rate it, should be going to the correct one. So yeah, if you liked it or hated it, let me know, and maybe I can do better or worse, who knows. And I don't know if we have any time for questions, maybe one or two.
Yeah, maybe one or two questions. Anyone? Then a question for me. When Tetris?
Well, so for the test cardinal sin, I had two ideas. One was Zonic the Testdog, and the other one was Tetris. And in the end, it became Zonic the Testdog. But Tetris, I mean, it shouldn't be that hard. So who knows? Maybe for the next, I was thinking of making a game specifically for JFocus for today. And my idea was to, well, make the great Swedish pride of Candy Crush into a game of IntelliJ, and have the duplicate lines that you have to match duplicate lines in your code. But it was working really clanky, so in the end, it couldn't show it. But who knows? If anybody wants to give it a try, maybe I'll be sitting in one of the seats next year and see how you made Candy Crush in IntelliJ. Would be cool.
I probably then can ask another question. Like, when you're looking at the code as an asset, how do you actually analyze this? Do you go through the abstract syntax tree, or?
So both, I think. Actually, which is a good example, probably state invaders. So I actually look through the code as text. So I loop through the whole code and collect the text. And then I also, for example, if I collect the mutable fields, I actually go through the abstract syntaxes, so the PSI tree, and ask it, okay, does this has a modifier, is this final, yes or no? Oh, if it's not final, well, screw you, you did wrong. And then I add it in my list of mutable variables. So it is using both. I'm using quite a lot of JetBrains APIs for this.
Cool. Then after Tetris, it probably would be cool to implement this for other languages as assets.
Yes, for sure.
Everyone wants to do the explosion for JavaScript, right?
Maybe Visual Studio Code Code Exploder next time. But I think it also works on WebStorm, and the Code Exploder should work on almost all JetBrains IDEs, I believe. Maybe not DataGrip, which is not even really an IDE, I think. So if it doesn't, let me know, and maybe I can fix it. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
It was really cool.